All right, we're going to keep talking about reservoirs. Our next speaker is going to be Victor Lee with the Bureau of Reclamation, and he's going to profile Green Mountain Reservoir. And while he comes up here, I'll go down and change the slides.
Thanks, Jim. All right, I am always so impressed the job Troy and the Blue River people get at getting all of these people to show up at these events. I'm very committed to the Blue River and its operations. I have a small little story. My wife and I met in 1984. She was a river guide, and she thought I should be a river guide. And we decided to bring our kayaks out to the Blue River and move to Summit County for a little bit. And so I think the Blue was running about, maybe 1,500 CFS above Green Mountain. We'd never been on a river before. We said, it looks good. We threw our boats on and we just rolled down the river and dumped into Green Mountain, and that was really about my first introduction into Green Mountain Reservoir and the Blue River. She did end up marrying me, and 35 years later we're still married. So, and I'm 35 years later, I'm still working with Green Mountain and the Blue River. So, last year I had laryngitis when I was up here, so hopefully you can hear me better this year. I am Victor Lee. I'm with the Bureau of Reclamation. I work out of the Eastern Colorado area office, and one of my responsibilities is I do all of the water scheduling for water operations for Green Mountain Reservoir. I've got a... Okay, today mostly what I'm going to talk a little bit about the Colorado Big Thompson River project. I guess I'm always surprised at how little people really know about what the Colorado Big Thompson is, what we do, and why you should be interested in the Colorado Big Thompson project. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Green Mountain's operation, which is a feature of the Colorado Big Thompson, and then I'll also move upstream the Colorado River and talk about the Colorado River collection system, which includes Granby Reservoir, Shadow Mountain Reservoir, Grand Lake. Is it going to work for me, Jen?
Left click. Left click.
Left, right, left. You know, I used to be an air traffic controller and I couldn't do it either. So, but anyways, first of all, so we work with the Bureau of Reclamation, Eastern Colorado area office. We are the trustees for your project. This is the Colorado Big Thompson was built by the United States for the citizens of Colorado. We provide water services for citizens of the state of Colorado all the way from the Nebraska state line to Grand Junction. So we actually have quite a bit of breadth of the services we provide. We also operate another project called the Fryingpan-Arkansas, which is another Transbasin diversion project. And okay, just kind of an overview. So the Colorado Big Thompson has 11 reservoirs in it. Many of them are regulatory reservoirs that we use for power generation. We at capacity, we store almost 1 million acre feet of water. The biggest one being Granby, which holds almost half that water. The Colorado collection system, which consists of Granby and Willow Creek, Shadow Mountain, and Grand Lake, they're all they collect the water, they divert the water through a tunnel that takes it to the Big Thompson River drainage, where we use that 3,000 feet of drop to generate power for about 26,000 households in the state of Colorado. Then we deliver that water to two storage reservoirs on the east slope, Horsetooth and Carter, where we deliver water to Northern Water Conservancy District, and they distribute that water to their water users throughout the eastern United States, or eastern Colorado. It never goes out of Colorado. And finally, just go back one. But there's also this other one that's not even connected to the project, and that's Green Mountain Reservoir. And that's what we're going to focus in on that. It's located here in Summit County, and people have a lot of interest in it. Next slide. Green Mountain Reservoir was built back around World War II. The project was authorized by Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and Green Mountain was the negotiated compensation for the western slope. So basically, eastern slope of Colorado was going to get all of this water delivered to them for agriculture and municipal and industrial use, and the western slope was given Green Mountain, of which 1/3 of that reservoir's volume is used to allow them to store that water higher in the watershed so they could deliver it to the east slope. And the other 2/3, about 100,000 acre feet of water, is dedicated to the benefit of the Upper Colorado River Basin. So Green Mountain actually provides service for you in Summit County for people that delivers water or allows them to divert out of priority when there is a call on the river, and it will replace that water. It will also provide water to irrigators as far as Palisade and Grand Junction. It will replace water all the way from Winter Park and Vale and in the Roaring Fork Valleys as well. So Green Mountain has a big footprint for a fairly small reservoir. Next. So everybody wants to know every year, is Green Mountain going to fill? And I pray all winter long that Green Mountain fills, because if it doesn't fill, it becomes more difficult for my job. Green Mountain is blessed this year with a below average snowpack, which you've all seen, but Dillon is also carrying over a lot of extra water, and so with the projected of about 220,000 acre feet of water, there's enough water for Dillon and for Green Mountain to obtain a physical fill. Therefore, Green Mountain will be able to deliver all of the water that it's obligated to deliver under its various contracts. We do expect this year to continue our support for the Colorado Endangered Fish Recovery Program. This is a commitment by Reclamation to help with the recovery of these 4 species of endangered fish. So we work with a variety of different partners, including the Colorado River District, the Division Water Resources, and various irrigators, Denver Water, to try to manage these upper reservoirs to help the recovery effort of those endangered fish. Next. You've seen this one, I won't talk any more about it. I look at the Upper Colorado. I always feel like I have to look at that one or show that one because I watch it starting in January, and I keep hoping that that blue line keeps going up, and it did very well this year. We'll move on. I do encourage all of you, if you're not familiar with it, to look at the Colorado Basin River Forecast Center located in Salt Lake City, Utah. They provide a whole lot of very useful information about where water is in the state of Colorado or in the Colorado River Basin, including the Blue River. As I mentioned before, we're looking at somewhere around 225,000 acre feet of water that's going to be available for beneficial use by Green Mountain, either through power generation or by storing or the city's allowing to divert it for beneficial use to the east. Next slide. So what is Green Mountain? Green Mountain looks the same every year almost. If we fill, what we'll do is sometime at the beginning of April, Green Mountain, or in the Colorado Big Thompson project, will become what we call in priority, or they become senior to and are allowed to store water. And so we'll rapidly go ahead and fill the reservoir. We'll take it all the way to the top. We'll hold it there until the free river conditions go away, or it starts getting drier and we start making irrigation deliveries to the west slope. And so then you'll see a drop down, a rapid drop down during the irrigation season. You'll see a slow drop down as we continue to make replacement releases out of Green Mountain all winter long. And next slide. This was a little bit of a different year. However, we did try something. there's a certain part of the water that is stored in Green Mountain, which we call the historic users pool. And this is water that's been allocated for the benefit of the western slope. And whenever there's a year and we don't need to use all of that water, Reclamation and collaboration with a variety of different stakeholders will decide that there's extra water for delivery from Green Mountain. And that's, we call that HUP surplus water. And last year at the end of the irrigation season, we still had about 8,000 acre feet in there. Because of these very dry conditions that we saw all winter, flows in the Colorado River have been very dry all winter long. And when the irrigators started opening up their diverters in the Grand Valley, there wasn't enough water to keep them whole and also keep the river flowing for the benefit of the endangered fish at what we call the 15-mile reach, or that reach of water between the irrigators and the Gunnison River. So for a period of about 7 to 10 days, I think it was 8 days total, we increased release from Green Mountain to 200 CFS so that we could deliver that water and keep the river flowing in the endangered fish area. So Green Mountain's releases will often look the same. We will go ahead and trim off that lead of the hydrograph, try to capture as much of that water, put it into storage, and then we will go ahead, and once we fill, then we will pass that water until we get called out or we start needing to make beneficial releases of that water. During the heat of the irrigation season, we'll release quite a bit of water that we've stored, and then we'll go down to where we're barely releasing more than what we're coming in, and that's those winter deliveries that we're making for the western slope. This year there's not a lot of water, or we don't expect a lot of water, which we've already seen. And so our base flow is right now at 150 CFS, and we don't expect it to go very much higher for that until we fill. And as you can see in the dashed green line there, the peak of that one that we're thinking is going to occur, and it all depends, as Nathan mentions, of how they end up operating Dillon, will barely be above our power plant capacity. So as we've discussed already, Green Mountain will continue to have a call on the Blue River for the entire period, for both the power and for both the filling of Green Mountain. Nothing else. Next. Well, that's kind of the summary of Green Mountain. What we're going to do, I'm going to move up and look at the Colorado collection system. Again, like Denver, Granby and Horsetooth and Carter are actually quite full. We've got quite a bit of carryover water, and so even though it is drier than normal, we do expect to fill Granby, but what will happen is that we also will allow Northern Water to pump some water on their own water rights and store that in Granby. At this point, we expect, and that's called Windy Gap water, and we expect Windy Gap to maybe put 3,000, if things are good, they might get as much as 10,000 acre feet of water this year. Granby also participates in helping with endangered fish recovery effort, and they will release about half of the 10,825 fish water, or 5,000 acre feet roughly. And the way we normally release that is we'll release that during the drier end of the summer period, where we'll elevate the releases from Granby Dam. And the final element I'd like to talk about is the Grand Lake Clarity Adaptive Management. This is an effort that Reclamation is working with stakeholders to try to see how we can operate the collection system to better manage water quality within Shadow Mountain Reservoir and better or improve, do better performance on maintaining a higher level of clarity within Grand Lake. This is a real concern for the landowners around that area as well as Grand County, and we are committed to trying to meet that obligation as well. And that's all I have to say. There's Green Mountain when it's low, a little bit lower than it is now, but hopefully it'll be all blue here shortly. Anyways, any questions? Yes, sir.